Welcome back to Bucks Take. I'm Tristan, and today we're tackling one of the most anticipated and impactful days in America. You guessed it, Election Day. Today is the day when Americans across the country head to the polls to make their voices heard and help determine the future direction of our country. This isn't just a day for choosing leaders, it's a day for exercising one of our most fundamental rights as citizens. Today's episode will dig into what's at stake in this election, the issues that matter most to Americans, and a few fun facts about past elections. We'll talk about why it's important to vote, the key states we're watching, and the implications of today's results. So, whether you're on your way to vote or you're turning in after casting out your ballot, let's dive into what Election Day means for America. Election Day is more than just another Tuesday in November. It's a day when Americans from all backgrounds, beliefs, and walks of life come together to decide who will represent them at local, state, and national levels. Today, we're not just picking leaders, we're choosing policies, priorities, and a vision for the future. For many of us, today's election is about more than individual candidates. It's about issues that affect our daily lives, like the economy, healthcare, education, national security, our freedoms, and our constitutional rights. Voting is our way of saying what kind of country we want to live in and what values we want our leaders to uphold. For Trump supporters like myself, today is a chance to support a platform that puts America first. It's a platform that defends our freedoms and aims to strengthen the foundation of this great nation. Whether it's your first time out voting or your 15th, Election Day is a reminder of the power we have in a world where we're constantly told what to think, how to feel. Voting is our chance to speak for ourselves. This day is a celebration of democracy and a testament to our country, our beliefs, and individual voices coming together to shape a collective future. So, what are some key issues in this year's election? The election cycle has been defined by several big issues that have been at the center of national conversations. One of the biggest is the economy. Many Americans are feeling the impact of inflation, the housing costs, and job market changes. Candidates are presenting different visions for how to strengthen the economy, whether through tax cuts, job creation, or regulation. For Trump and his supporters, the focus is often on tax relief, reducing regulations, and creating a business friendly environment that supports American workers. Then there's the border security. For years, immigration policy has been a hot button issue, and it remains a key focus this election day. Trump has always been vocal about securing our borders, and for many, his stance resonates as a return to order, lawfulness, and safety. Americans want a system that respects the legal immigration process, protects our communities, and ensures resources are available for citizens. Another important issue is healthcare. Americans want a system that's affordable and accessible, but also sustainable. This election will influence how we address healthcare coverage, access, and the cost. Many candidates are offering different approaches, from expanding government involvement to promoting private sector solutions, giving voters a chance to choose which direction they believe is the best direction. And of course, there's freedom of speech in the Second Amendment. For many, this election is about protecting these Constitution fundamental rights. from government overreach, as well as ensuring that Americans maintain the freedom this country was built on. For Trump supporters, these aren't just policies, these are principles that define our identity as a nation. Ultimately, today's election is about defining America's priorities. We're choosing the leaders who will shape our future and the direction of our country. The stakes feel especially high this year because there's a sense that we're at a crossroads. So, as we watch the results tonight, think about what these issues mean to you and what kind of future you want to see. Let's talk about key states that we need to watch for in tonight's election. Election day has a few key states, I guess you could say, battleground states that everyone watches closely because they can tip the balance one way or the other. Let's go over some of these states and why they're so significant. First up, you guessed it, Florida. Florida is a state with a diverse population that includes older voters and a large Hispanic community, and suburban voters from various backgrounds. It's a state that has historically swung both ways, and its high number of electoral votes makes it a powerful prize for any candidate. Winning Florida often signals strong momentum. Then there's Ohio, which is often called a bellwether state because it tends to reflect the national mood. Ohio's economy is diverse, with a mix of industrial, agricultural, and service sectors, making it a microcosm of America. It's a candidate, if a candidate does well in Ohio, it's a good indicator that they're resonating with the working class and middle American voters. Texas is also a big one. Texas has become more competitive in recent years, and as one of the most populous states, it has a huge number of electoral votes up for grabs. Texas represents traditional conservative values, but also has rapidly growing urban centers with more diverse and younger population. How Texas voters tonight could offer insight into whether conservative values continue to resonate with the newer voters. Georgia is another one to watch closely. Traditionally a Republican stronghold, Georgia has been shifting in recent years, making it a battleground state. With the large African American population and growing urban areas, Georgia's vote reflects changing demographics in the South. A win here could indicate how well each party is doing in connecting with new voters. Finally, we can't forget about Pennsylvania. This state has a strong historical history of swinging back and forth, and it represents a mix of urban and rural voters. Pennsylvania was pivotal in the last election, and it's likely to play a crucial role again. How will candidates do here will be a strong indicator of whether they're reaching both city dwellers or even the small town American. Each of these states represent a unique slice of America, and the results tonight will provide us with a clear picture of the nation's mood and where voters' priorities lie. Watching these states will give us clues about who might come out on top and what message are resonating most with the public. Some key states also watch out for: California, North Carolina. California has normally always been a blue state, but there are still conservatives that are in the state of California, and it'll be interesting to see if they come out in numbers and vote. And we'll see if possibly the state could turn red. If that does, it could change the whole outcome of this election. Let's go into some fun facts real quick. Some fun facts about presidential elections, since we're on the topic. So before we wrap this up, let's dive into these fun facts about past presidential elections to bring some extra content to this big day. Did you know that the last time a Republican won California in a presidential election was back in 1988? That was the year I was born. George H.W. Bush took California that year, but it's been blue ever since. California's shift towards the left reflects a lot of demographic and cultural changes that have taken place over the past few decades. Here's another interesting one. Not all projected winners on election night end up winning the presidency. The 2000 election between George W. Bush and Al Gore is a perfect example. The media initially projected Gore as the winner, then switched to Bush, and ultimately it took a Supreme Court decision to finalize the results in Florida, giving Bush the win. It's a reminder that election night projections aren't always the final word. And speaking of close calls, did you know that in 1960, the election between JFK and Nixon was one of the closest in history? Kennedy won by a slim margin, and there were controversies about voting irregulation. Sometimes elections come down to just a few thousand votes, showing how powerful each ballot can be. Another fun fact: Ohio was predicted the winner of the presidential election correctly in every election since 1964, except for one, 2020. Known as the bellwether state, Ohio's choice is often reflective of the nation's outcome. Through this trend has recently broken. And lastly, let's talk about voter turnout. The 2008 election saw a record voter turnout, with both parties had highly competitive races. This level of enthusiasm is something candidates dream of because it shows people care deeply about the future. High turnout on election day is always a good sign that Americans are engaged and ready to shape the nation's path. So thank you guys for turning into this election day special on Buck's Take. Today we'll cover the importance of we've covered the importance of this day, the issues that are driving people to the polls, and the where key states we'll be watching closely tonight. We've also taken a look at some of fun facts that remind us of how unique each election is. Whether you're voting today or just watching the results, remember that your vote matters. Elections are one of the few times when each of us has a direct say in the future of our country, and that's something to be proud of. If today's episode resonated with you, please make sure to subscribe and share it with others who care about our country's direction. We're just getting started here on Buck's Take, and there's so much more to discuss in the coming weeks. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and stay true to what you believe in. This is America, and we're all in this together. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.